Hello, everyone, and welcome back to NFL Codebreakers. I hope you're having a happy holidays here, everywhere. And today we'll be discussing today's line of Christmas games. And what about the Cowboys' road woes? And before you do that, please like and subscribe down at the bottom. And without further ado, let's get started. All right, let's start out with these NFL slate games. First of all, we have on CBS the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Kansas City Chiefs at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, let's talk about this game because I think most people overlook this game, but not me and the people who are watching this channel. We're smart enough to know that if Kansas City loses this game, they're out of it. They're really out of it for the number one spot. We all know there's no chance they won't make the playoffs. I mean, technically there is, but we know it's Patrick Mahomes and he'll get his group together. But the main reason Kansas City's been having this season is that it's been having wide receiver issues. Kadarius Toney, Rashee Rice, Marcus Valdez-Scantling, like these guys sorry, I forgot to mention Sky Moore. These guys, they're trying to still get used to Patrick and all that. And the only one that's still elite is Kelsey, who we actually haven't been seeing a lot of receptions targets around lately. So there's no doubt around the Kansas City offense that they are trying to spread the ball. They are trying to give it to these guys, Rashee Rice. And we saw Rashee Rice, he's had his production increase. He's become a more influent role of the offense. But they lead the league in drops right now with, I think, 32 at the moment. Yeah, 32 and probably more this game. And people are not concerned with this, but I've been thinking in my head a lot because I was writing down these final score predictions. Gee, Las Vegas might really upset Kansas City. And I know that might seem crazy to all of you. Oh, Patrick Mahomes, blah, blah, blah. But think about it for a second. When the Raiders this mid-season fired Josh McDaniels and they hired Antonio Pierce as their intern head coach, I knew right then and there that this would be the moment for all Raiders fans that the organization is turning around. And maybe they won't make it to the playoffs this season, and they probably won't. But next season, they're going to be a playoff team if they keep him. And Aiden O'Connell isn't like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen break numbers, but he's doing a hell of a lot good. He, Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers. I mean, he's creating a chemistry with the guys, and they like it. And oh my god, Max Crosby on the defensive side is crazy. And Antonio Pierce just brings that energy, that fire to this Raiders organization, right? That we haven't seen in a long time. So don't look now, but the Raiders just might defeat Kansas City on Christmas Day in their own stadium. However, that's not how I plan it. I think Kansas City wins, but it's going to be a close one. It's going to be 28-27 by a last-second field goal. Woo! And on to our next one. At 4:30 p.m. Eastern, we have the NFL on Fox for Christmas Day. The New York Giants play the Philadelphia Eagles. Giants being 5-9, Eagles being 10-4. Let's start out with the Eagles. The Eagles themselves are on a 3-game losing streak. And these are really hard teams that they've had. And they've had a gauntlet of a schedule. They've probably I don't have the numbers right now, but they have probably the hardest schedule of anyone in the NFL. I mean that seriously. And they haven't really looked like themselves, even though they've been winning some games. Early season, they started the season 10-1. They haven't been really looking like themselves lately, the Eagles that we saw a year ago. They look frustrated. They just look absolutely not the Eagles that I loved in the 2022 to 2023 season where they went to the Super Bowl. And I think part of that has to do with Jalen Hurts trying to play hero ball. Jalen Hurts right now, as you can see in the film, and I'll try to link it down in the description below if I can, but He does not trust his offensive line anymore. It feels like he's making more of like those Lamar Jackson plays that Lamar Jackson used to do in his 2019 MVP campaign, where he's like, nah, I don't trust any of my receivers. I'm just gonna go run the ball and see what happens, right? He's not playing trusted football, and feels like the only receiver that he's actually throwing to is AJ Brown. I mean, but think about it, man. I feel like he's wasting some of his opportunities because Eagles have such a loaded roster, and they're ready to contend for a Super Bowl right now. And he just keeps forcing the ball to AJ Brown. Like recently, on Monday Night Football against the Seahawks, he had Devontae Smith wide open on the crosser routes, but he threw it to AJ Brown on when he was double covered and he's just running this post route to the inside when they were down by a field goal. So it's just not going great for the Eagles right now. And they need to turn around quickly before they get in the playoffs. Because that kind of play, they will get demolished in the playoffs, first round. And I feel like they're already out of contention for the number one bye seed. I know mathematically they're still in contention, but in my view, they're still just not in contention. I'm sorry. It's not happening. But let's move on from the Eagles into the Giants. Now, the Giants have an interesting situation with Tommy DeVito and Daniel Jones. They signed Daniel Jones recently to last season, 4-year, $160 million contract. However, you have this kid, 25-year-old undrafted rookie, Tommy DeVito from Syracuse, coming out, and he's making a household name for himself. So the Giants are going to have to decide early in the offseason, do we just bench Daniel even though we're going to pay him the money, or are we going to say, let's keep doing Daniel because we just already paid him the money and it's whatever. We'll rebuild in like whatever years from now. I feel like they should just give Tommy DeVito a starting job. I really feel like that because Daniel Jones, let's be honest, he's mediocre. All right, he's a mediocre quarterback. But Tommy DeVito, he just, with a little bit more practice and actual training camp, OTAs and all that, next season he could become potentially a Brock Purdy, I would say. Right? He could be that game manager that, doesn't necessarily win the game for you, but he helps you win these games, right? And the Giants, they don't have a star-studded roster, but they have a pretty good roster, right? More on the defensive side. Maybe you invest in the draft a little bit of the wide receivers to help him out. But, that's my thought on Tommy DeVito. But let's focus up right now. And right now, the Giants are sort of flying high. I mean, last week they did lose to the Saints 24-6, but that's okay. Here's the thing. They're going into Philadelphia, that noisy Philadelphia crowd. And I don't know how they're going to fare there. So I say Eagles win of a score 34-18. That's my final score predictions for this game. Oh, drum roll! San Francisco 49ers and the Baltimore Ravens, both 11-3 teams, will face off on ABC at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, this is potentially a Super Bowl preview. It really is. And I feel like that because these are the two number one seeds. And they're just playing amazing football in December, especially the Ravens with Lamar Jackson. I mean, they had that thriller of a game against the Rams where Taiwan Walker walked for a 76-yard punt return in overtime to a walk-off win. And then you have the incredible Jacksonville game when they went into Duval, and the highlight of that play is Lamar Jackson. He scrambles out. He has like 10 seconds to throw it all. He just lobs it in the air. And Isaiah Likely, between two guys, goes and catches it. Best play I think I've seen this season. That's the argument right there. But here's the only flaw with the Ravens. In some games, they're inconsistent. One game, they could be, a very consistent team. And then one game, they just shut down in the fourth quarter. They always shut down in the fourth quarter. And I know, they've been better this time, but I want you guys, when you're watching this game tonight, when you go in the fourth quarter, you just have to pray that the Ravens will do good, okay, in this fourth quarter. Because in most seasons, they shut down. Like, let me give you an example. In an earlier game with the Baltimore Ravens and Pittsburgh Steelers, Baltimore was like, yeah, we're in it. But then, oh no, all of a sudden comes J.J. Watt with a strip sack, goes and recovers it for a touchdown. That's the kind of breakdowns I mean. As long as that doesn't happen tonight and they can play conservative football, they should be fine. But let's move on also to San Francisco. San Francisco also 11-3 at the number one seed currently in the NFC. Now, San Francisco, they have such a complete cast. You have CMC, you have Kittle, you have Debo, Ayuk, I guess. You have all these guys with Brock Purdy, and Brock Purdy's just handing them the ball. He's being that game manager that goes bam, 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 bam. And I feel like that if Brock Purdy can play the same football he's always been playing, they can win. It's as simple as that. The only thing standing in their way is the Ravens' defense, which is a top 5 defense. They are number one in scoring points allowed. They are just ferocious. So it's going to be tough here. So I'm going to say Baltimore wins 32-24. And it's going to be a little bit more high scoring because of these differences, because these offenses are so incredible. All right. That's it for the Christmas games. And let's get to our final topic today, the Cowboys road woes. So Dallas has been an interesting story this year. They have lost all of their games on the road. All of them. All 5 of them. But let me take a look at their schedule here. The Giants are currently... Cowboys. They won against the Giants 40-0. And then they won against the Jets 30-10. And lost to the Cardinals, which was a disgusting game, 28-16. And that kind of really highlighted their season. They can win, on the road even, against these underprivileged teams, right, that are under 500. And they have really yet to gain a confidence on themselves on the road, which they are going to need in the playoffs if they want to be anything successful, really. And, the way I feel about this is that their last 2 losses, coming off a 31-10 loss against the Bills, and then yesterday they lost against the Dolphins 22-20. And that last Dolphins win against the Cowboys, I actually thought Dak Prescott, he had a few things here and there, but he played a really good complete game all around. He got good statistics. He had, really great stuff. And it all capped off on his final drive of that game with the Cowboys, where he threw that dot to Brandon Cooks, and Brandon Cooks also made that amazing catch, which I didn't believe. So the problem with that is that Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys coaching staff, it was on them for that game, because they should have wasted the time more, right? Because it's not like they were rushed. It's not like you had a minute to score and they had to go score right now. They could have taken the time. They could have run the ball once or twice on the down, and they knew Dak Prescott could get it done. But I feel like the play calling there wasn't as good, and because of that, they left the Dolphins with 3 minutes in the fourth quarter with Tua, Tyreek. Well, actually, Jalen Waddle was injured with a knee injury, but you have Tyreek still. And of course, as I expected, the Dolphins went down the field, and they scored with Jason Sanders' 29-yard field goal, and they won 22-20. The summary of all this is that Dallas is 5 losses on the road. Question is this just the same cycle, or can they improve right now? Because they're not playing their best football right now when they're supposed to be in December.